You're breathtaking.
Redditors who cook? What's the biggest no-no thing in cooking? Always wear pants while cooking bacon, or just an apron. Pants are critical, but real men cook bacon topless. It builds character. Glass cutting boards. Like seriously, just get the frick out. And in a similar vein, dangerously dull knives. I've seen some real bludgeons in other people's kitchens. No wonder they hate prep work. I have a small glass cutting board, but I don't actually use it for cutting. It's next to my stove and is my designated I need to set this spoon down area because it's easy to clean. That's all it's good for really. Don't let your baking powder get clumpy. Tiny rocks of baking powder ruin anything you bake. Have done it. Biting into clumps of baking powder sends shivers down my spine. Sift your ingredients. For the love of God, stop mucking about with whatever it is you're cooking. Unless it's something you specifically need to be mixing or stirring constantly, leave it alone. You'll never get proper color on things if they make more contact with your spatula than your pan. This is how I always frick up pancakes. They are so simple, but for some ungodly reason I have a compulsive need to try to flip them when I know that shit shouldn't be touched yet. Edit. Yes, I know when it bubbles you flip it. I said I have a compulsive need to try to flip it even though I know it's not time. Cutting with a dull knife. Get yourself a sharpener. Even if it's a cheap one. Nah, just get a new knife and save the dull one for the bathroom. Chef for 10 years. Here's some good things to keep in mind when cooking at home. Clean as you go. It minimizes clutter and mess and makes everything easier. Sharpen your damn knives. Seriously, dull knives are dangerous as frick. Blenders are not just for smoothies. Use them for sauces and your life will be changed. Please stack your fridge appropriately so cross-contamination doesn't happen. Veggies and fruit on top. Also eggs is fine. Beef, fish, poultry, chicken juice will contaminate raw veggies so quick. You don't need a frickin' knife block. I'm a chef for a living. I butcher 10-20 ducks a week and I have 6 knives? Even that is just cause I'm very particular. Your average home chef needs 3 at most. A standard length chef knife, a paring knife, which most home chefs never use from what I've seen, and a medium-sized blade for veggies can be nice. Label and date when you open stuff and keep it near the front. Keeping it near the front is most important as it helps encourage you to remember. Ah yes, I have this kale that I should use before you open something else. Olive oil can go bad. Lots of people think it can't, but it can. Canned stuff isn't the worst. Just mix it with fresh stuff. Diversify what ingredients you're using. Most Americans and Europeans cook with the same 20 things. Every time you go to the grocery store, pick up a new ingredient and try it out. Beets? Amazing. Like mushrooms? Try oyster mushrooms instead of generic shiitakes. Like onions? Grab a leek. Seriously, change it up. Wading into more professional territory, but try some fermentation. Lots of great stuff out there, but I'd recommend kimchi. If you want to get serious, buy the Noma Guide to Fermentation and actually read it. Best $30 you'll ever spend. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Medium rare chicken. Works for steaks, but not for hen. Buffalo Wild Wings seems to think it's okay. Cranking the heat to reduce the cooking time will leave you with a burnt outside and an underdone inside. Can I give you my mother-in-law's number? You don't have to be polite. She is always on the run and never has enough time to cook, yet always insists on cooking meals that take 3 times more time than she has available. So she shortcuts the frick out of every meal and they always turn out horribly. Just this weekend the family went to an apple orchard for most of the day and we were going to eat dinner at a nearby friend's house. Instead of doing the logical thing, like planning a dinner that doesn't need to cook all day or hell, something crazy like just ordering fricking pizza, she decides she wants pulled pork. So she throws the pork in the slow cooker and plugs it into a power inverter in their car and then leaves it in there for 5 hours, one of which was driving and 4 of which were with it parked in the parking lot, with the ignition turned off and therefore no power to the inverter. Of course, when we got to the friend's house this was all revealed to me. She was saying how the pork didn't cook and trying to figure out how we could quickly cook it. She said she thought it would just run off the battery in the car. Infuriating. I had a roommate once who was doing a recipe with sauteed onions. He was scorching the heck out of them and I told him that his dish would taste a lot better if he cooled the pan a little and did a nice slow caramelization. He told me he didn't care if it tasted good or not. I still don't know how to respond to that. Incorrectly storing ingredients. Seriously, you can get ill if you let raw chicken juice drip on your salad in the fridge. Then, cut meat and veg on separate boards. Cross-contamination is such a huge deal in cooking. Like no, you can't cut veg on the same board you just cut a raw steak on. You trying to make everyone sick? Edit. Okay, to clarify, steak wasn't a good choice for examples. Chicken is the more obvious one due to salmonella. And yes, if everything is being cooked right after, so long as everything is cooked to the right temperature, it's fine. Just be sure to wash the cutting board thoroughly and sanitize your tools. Don't grab something that is on the stove without a towel or some type of heat protection. Don't combine water and hot oil. If a grease fire starts, Don't use water to try to put it out. Salt, a baking sheet, or a dry towel might work if you don't have a fire extinguisher. Don't season a liquid before reducing it. It will become too salty after you reduce it. Don't use a cold pan to sear something. Get the pan hot first. Better sear. Don't use extra virgin olive oil when you're using high heats. It will burn. Don't cut meat immediately after cooking it. More juices will flow out. The meat will become drier. Wait a few minutes. Don't hold an object with your fingers extended when you're cutting it. You're less likely to seriously cut your fingers if you curl your fingers like a claw. Don't use a sharp knife on metal, like a pie tin or steel counter, or glass or marble. Don't use a nice knife on anything other than food. A common offense would be opening a food package with it. Don't send a nice knife through a dishwasher. Don't leave a sharp knife in the sink. Don't leave a knife wet. Even ones claiming to be stainless will often rust if left wet. Don't follow a recipe too religiously. If it doesn't taste well to you, don't leave it because you followed the recipe exactly. Learn this the hard way. Don't throw fresh chili peppers into a hot pan unless you want to pepper spray the whole house. Have you ever cooked Indian food? Pepper spray is just part of the experience. A dull knife. My parents had no idea all of their knives have been dull for the past decade until I sharpened them and they were like, wow, it's like a brand new knife. Not only are they less effective, but it's also dangerous because a dull knife is more likely to slip and go where you don't want it rather than safely dig into the cut you're trying to make. My grandma took my sharpest knife and hid it because she didn't want me to use it so I wouldn't cut myself. I can't control the dull knife, it slides so much I'm more likely to cut myself with it than the sharp knife. Cross-contamination with raw chicken or pork. Cooking with extra virgin olive oil over high heat. You sound bitter about this. There was a YouTube channel called Sam the Cooking Guy and he taught me about using avocado oil rather than olive oil. Olive oil and vegetable oil and others have a lower smoke point and can impart flavor into the food when you may not want it. Avocado oil is neutral, adds no flavor, and has a higher smoke point allowing you to, for example, sear meat more easily. I rarely use av for cooking, more as a finish or part of a dressing. Not seasoning your chicken. Overcooking chicken too. Never, and I mean never, panic if you start a fire on accident. You need to be calm enough to know if you have to smother it, oil or grease fires, or grab the extinguisher. Panicking can get your house burned down. My mom fell asleep while making fries and woke up to a house full of smoke. She then threw a polyester blanket over the pot full of burning oil which burned the whole kitchen down. Should have just put a lid on the pot. But now she got a brand new kitchen covered by insurance, LOL. Story. One morning, I was awoken by my now fiancé telling me something was on fire. I look into the kitchen, and one of the burners has fire coming off of it. We bought this bag of extremely greasy noodles, and while cooking them, one had fallen into that bell bit under the coil, where it instantly lit up. Still basically asleep, I calmly went over, grabbed the tub of baking soda I keep by the oven, doused the burning noodle with it, and went back to bed. The whole thing took about 30 seconds. Do not mix hot cooking oil and cool sink water. I saw a girl burn the hell out of herself because she didn't listen to the home ec teacher. She threw her hot oil in a sink with some cool water running. Boom! Sprayed hot oil all over her arm and neck. Let your oil cool, folks. Just never pour your oil in the sink at all. What the frick? It will clog your shit up so fast. Why are people pouring oil down the sink in the first place? Cooking everything on high because you want it done faster. One of the best descriptions of this, I believe, was from Alton Brown. The way he worded it, extremely paraphrased, of course, was to consider time and temperature as if they were ingredients themselves. You can't alter them any more than any other ingredient and expect the result to come out correctly. Do you know my mother? Or the opposite? Every single recipe, throw it in a cold oven, flip it to 350. Go to another part of the house and get distracted for an indeterminate amount of time. Don't rinse your pasta. Pasta should never, ever be rinsed for a warm dish. The starch in the water is what helps the sauce adhere to your pasta. The only time you should ever rinse your pasta is when you are going to use it in a cold dish like a pasta salad or when you are not going to use it immediately. Everything else I read here seemed like common sense, but I guess I've been doing pasta wrong my whole life. Coming anywhere near my non-stick pan with metal. If you scratch my pan, I will scratch your soul. My brother is really good about this. And then when he washes a non-stick pan, you can hear the scratching from the brush against the pan 2 rooms away. And then he wonders why his non-stick pans only last 6 months or so. My roommate was breaking up ground beef with a fork in my non-stick pan. We had words. Taste. As you go. My raw chicken never tastes very good, but I'm sure I'll find a good bird one day. Don't burn garlic. Don't forget to let the ingredients get to know each other and use a tiny whisk. Mr. Onion. This is MRS. Tomato. Then you push them together to make it look like they're kissing. The trick is to undercook the onions. Everyone is going to get to know each other in the pot. Microwaving a salad. Of course you don't microwave a salad, you freaking donut. Guessing at amounts when baking. Baking is science. Cooking is art. Standing in the kitchen when I'm cooking. Get the frick out. Don't get in my way, especially when they stand directly behind you or they stand there saying how they would have done it. Don't try to catch a dropped knife. Back away and let it fall. I have the slowest reflexes in the world except when it comes to things that should just fall. Knives. Curling iron. Using metal utensils on Teflon-coated cookware. Cooking beef well done. Edit. Not ground beef. LOL. You got me there. At least not outside of burgers. Y'all know what I mean. Please subscribe if you liked the video. It really helps the channel to grow. See you again.